Let's make some 19 teens and 1920s toddler combinations for girls. Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin. I teach old-fashioned sewing skills on this channel. Mostly we copy originals and use historical techniques to recreate wonderful and accurate reproductions. So we've been working through a series of getting all baby stuff and child stuff done before I get pregnant, because I have 4 centuries to sew for, and some of those centuries are hand stitch only, and I'm likely not going to have time for that once we have children. So we're trying to get it all done now, so I don't have to worry about it later. For 20th century, we've gotten all the baby stuff done. We're still in infant stuff for 19th century. That's because there's a lot of stuff to do. But for 20th century, we are finally on toddler stuff. We made a couple of dresses a couple months ago. Need to backpedal because I forgot about underthings. So we're going to make that today. I have here a pattern I drafted. I found an original 19 teens toddler combination pattern online, and it showed the shapes on the pattern. And instead of buying a $50 pattern that only had one size, I looked at that and I took some toddler measurements from size charts that were online, and I went, I can do this. And now I have a pattern. So we're going to do 2T, 3T, 4T, and 5T, which is all the toddler sizes. And I have all of them right here. So we're going to make these up, and if you hear movement in the background, we hatched some chicks. So they're back here. They are actually the quietest chicks I've ever hatched. They hardly make any noise. They're like 4 or 5 days old now. They're still really cute. You likely won't hear them chirp, but you will probably hear them just like scurry around. They're adorable. Anyway, I have some cotton batiste here. Now the original did show pink cotton, which I may actually have some. If I run out of this, then we'll make one size in pink. But other than that, I don't keep a lot of just colored cotton around, so we're going to use white, and white's the easiest to launder anyway, so we might as well. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and put the pattern onto the fabric, and we'll get cutting. Now I specifically chose this particular pattern because I kept looking at combination garments, even non-combinations with like a shirt and separate panties. And I kept realizing how difficult it was going to be to go to the restroom in those things. Now the separates, pretty easy. You would just take the buttons off or the elastic off. That wasn't going to be that big of a deal. The problem with that was that seemed like a lot of work. But the more I looked at combinations, it looked like they were almost like rompers, where you had to take the whole thing off just to use the bathroom. And for young children, that's not always the most ideal. So I liked how this one, this is the front, this is the back panty part, and it kind of folds back over, and you kind of just gather this into the back portion. And so there's a back that you can take off, and the whole thing flips over without having to take the entire garment off. And so that's why I chose this particular shape. Alright, we are using my great-grandmother's 1907 today because it's the right time period. And we're going to start by, I've ironed up the hem of the back and also the center back. I'm going to go ahead and sew the center back of all the pieces. This one I pieced a little bit, but it'll be fine. Right. I have these all on a string so I can pull them back up. Now I'm going to stitch down the bottom hem of the back. Trying to keep them more or less in order because I have them smallest to largest right now, and because they all look basically exactly the same, I'm going to make sure I keep them in order so that I don't get them mixed up. I ran a bobbin thread. So the next step is to take the front, and we're going to do a bunch of hemming. So this is the back bottom portion that's going to get gathered up and buttoned. And so I'm hemming the sides of this. And this is the front portion of the same thing. There's going to be little slits at the side, and that's kind of what this is. It's the slit part. And there's the back sewn to the front. We're going to use them into a maker's hem because I thought it would be easy. Shoulder seams as well, which are also mantua maker's hems. And then all the way back down to the other side. So that's the basics of it. Alright, and just so you can kind of see how the whole thing does fit together, I'm going to show you on the ironing board. And that way we can talk about like mantua maker's hem and all of that. So back to front, right sides together. This of course is much longer. There's a slit here. And I'm going to cut about a seam allowance width, so for me that's 1/2 inch. Taking this part, I'm going to do one very narrow turn down. And then I'm going to do it again. It's kind of like a French seam, except you only have to sew it once. I'm going to do the same thing with the shoulder. And then for the sides, or the slit part, fold over once. We're going to make it just basically a hem. So fold over once, fold it over twice. That way that all lines up. This way all of this lines up. I can sew that into one seam as we saw earlier. Put one pin in there. This is a little leg hole. But I'm going to do the same thing over here with the back portion. And that again all gets sewn. I'm going to put a tuck in the center front that we're going to later embroider. I need a way to tell these sizes apart, so we're going to embroider them in different colors. And then in the back there's of course a little waistband that goes on that little butt part. And we're going to put that on after of course gathering the back end. And then I don't think I have to because buttonholes are going to go on this to hold this down, but I am going to sew the waistband down as well. I have 1920s baby garments that when they have a facing go down, they just hold it in place with buttonholes. So it would also be appropriate to leave it, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. Alright, I made some self fabric binding and I'm using it to bind all of the raw edges. So the neckline, the sleeves, and then the little leg holes that were created. Alright, last step for the project. I still gotta do buttonholes, but I'm gonna do those off camera. That's like I usually do. I do want to show y'all the buttons and snaps that I'm putting in. So buttons, there's 5 on each one. If I could find the hole, that would be helpful. My goodness. Alright. So I'm doing 3 on the top, which I think I already did on this one. So, yeah. 3 on the top. And then 1 on each side at the bottom, which of course is to the back end needs to go up somehow. And because it left these weird slits on the side that I didn't feel were great for, you know, little kids who can kind of be rowdy and modesty reasons, I've added 2 snaps. So 1 at the very bottom where the leg is and the 1 in the middle to kind of hopefully give a little bit more coverage. In the image it looks closed, but of course I don't have the directions, so I don't know how they close them. It doesn't make sense to sew it up, given the fact that you kind of want it to come off for, you know, bathroom purposes. So I don't know how that was supposed to work. But my solution is snaps, because I know it's a period solution. And I got myself some sew-on snaps. Apparently they still sell. I remember these long time ago that my mom, I guess, already had vintage. And I went to Walmart and I was like, oh look, they actually have sew-on snaps, because when I looked on Amazon and online, all I could find were the ones that you snap in, which I've done those before, and they don't seem to last very long, especially if you're rough with them like I know kids will be. So I really wanted the sew-on ones. I don't think I actually searched sew-on snaps. I think I just searched, you know, snaps for clothes, and that's probably what my issue was. But I found these, so they do still sell them. And then for the center, of course I want to put a color on there just so I can differentiate them a little bit. So I've decided we're doing a very simple feather stitch. Do I have period baby, you know, embroidery patterns? Yeah, I have a whole set of them. Am I going to use them? Not for this. I mean, I still have to go back and embroider all the baby stuff that we made last year, so I'll use it for that. This is more of like a differentiation on sizing situation, so it's not just for pretties. This is also holding down the tuck that I made, because the way I made the tuck, you know, when you wash that, it's going to just flop right over. There's nothing holding it down. So this is helping me hold that tuck down as well. So it is serving a dual purpose. Which, I mean, the tuck wasn't it was a choice because apparently I made the pattern too wide. Not sure how it happened because I measured everything very specifically, but it was so wide. And that is why we ended up with the tuck. It wasn't a initial choice. It was a, I've already cut these out and they are too wide. What do I do to fix this choice? And I'm only going about to the waist, which we are almost to that waist. Alright, I have some buttonholes to do and then I will be done. And we'll see them all on hangers. Alright, there is 2 of them. I couldn't get the other 2 on there because they won't fit into the big hangers I have, and I only have the 1 small hanger. So there is that. But we got 2 of them on the hangers so you could see them. But yeah, that is basically what they look like. The back end, let me just turn one under so you can kind of see what that looks like. It's just poofy and a bit of bottom, and yeah, the whole thing of course comes entirely apart, so it is very convenient. I don't think I graded them correctly because there's not a lot of size difference. Even though I added a couple inches, I don't know what happened. It didn't seem like it worked. So I think what I have is, I think I have a 2T, a 2.5T, a 3T, and a 3.5T, to be honest. Which kind of works out. So basically what I'll end up with is I'm going to call it, you know, 2 2Ts. So 1 to wear plus a spare, and then, you know, basically 2 3Ts. You know, one slightly bigger than the other. So I guess it works out. I was going to do just 1 of each size because we only do day events for 20th century, but I guess it works out. And You know, I always say, I have one to wear plus a spare, so maybe this was just meant to happen. But yeah, so I guess we'll just stick with the 2T, 3T for right now. We'll move on to 4T and 5T later on, and I'll try to really draft those up. Because I think the sizing is right as far as width. I think it's the length that I'm off. Because there's no way that blue one's going to fit a 5-year-old. It'll fit like a 3-year-old. I guarantee you that. Maybe a larger 3-year-old. But it's not fitting a 5-year-old. So we're going to chalk this up to me not adding enough in length. I definitely know it's enough in width. Length was a little bit sketchy. So I don't know if we're going to do a different pattern for 4 and 5T. Or if we'll use the same one and I'll just grade it up. Either way, we'll get to that eventually, but that gives me 4, 2 in the same size twice over. So again, it fits with my little mantra. I think next month we're going to work on boys stuff, and I guess I'll just stick with 2T and 3T, just make 2 sets. Make it easy for myself. But if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. Click the little bell notification so you're notified anytime I upload a new video. And as always, have a fantastic week, and I'll see you back here in the next video.